Hello, and welcome to the For Her Empire podcast. I'm your host, Abby Ngauche, and in this podcast, we address the personal and the business issues that female entrepreneurs face in their day-to-day lives. Our guest today is Brandy Champeau. Hi, Brandy. Oh, did you hear me?
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Okay, so Brandy is an author, she's a speaker, she's a coach, and then she's the curriculum developer at Explore and Expression. Is that right?
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about how parents can make learning fun for their kids. But first, can you tell us a bit more about yourself, Brandy?
Okay, well, I'm a single parent. I have 3 children. My oldest is in college right now. I have a 16-year-old autistic son, and then I have a 7-year-old as well. I work a full-time job. I homeschool my kids, and I run Exploring Expression. I founded Exploring Expression, and I'm living my best expression now.
Oh my God, that's a lot to juggle at the same time. Like you have your full-time job, you have Exploring Expression, you have your kids. Like I'm not gonna assume that right now you got into the swing of things immediately. You probably struggled for a while to like get into the swing of things. Like, how was that process? Like getting from that to this point?
Well, the homeschooling has been on and off for some time. My philosophy is children will learn where they need to learn. So not all of my children are homeschooled, and they've been at different times. But I found you do what you have to do at the moment. And so, when I first started Exploring Expression, I still had to feed my children.
Yeah.
It takes a minute for a business to grow. And so while I'm growing it, I do work my regular job, and I'm lucky enough to have one that enables me to work from home most of the time, so that I can still be home with my children and then run my business in the evening or on weekends like I'm doing now.
Yeah. Ooh, nice. So like when you started Exploring Expressions and you still had the full-time job, how were you able to like manage, like, or at least set out time that this day this time is for Exploring Expression, this day this time is for like my full-time job, and this time in the day is for my kids? How did you make that timetable?
Well, it's all a matter of being intentional about what you're doing. So I don't set, this day, this time. I set this moment.
Okay.
So, my desk here, my children's homeschool desk is right back behind me.
Oh.
Right. And so I'll get them started on whatever they're doing, and then I can work.
Okay.
So I'm still here and present with them and present for them while also doing my things. I also keep a notebook right next to me. So while I'm working my regular job, if a thought strikes me for a curriculum or for an idea or it's there with me. It's all about being intentional and having the tools where you need them so that you can multitask effectively.
Yeah. But like one of your kids is 7 years old. I don't think they stay put that long. How is that working out?
He doesn't. He works in fits and starts, and we do a lot of like game schooling, and we do a lot of, if you have a learning lifestyle, and that's what my platform is building a learning lifestyle, then your entire homeschool doesn't need to be textbook.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be sedentary, right? So like my 7-year-old son does competitive dance.
Oh.
And so several hours a day, he goes and he does dance, and I get a lot of work done on my laptop while he's doing that, right? Yeah. And then, and my older son, a lot of his stuff can happen independently, but he also has therapy and things of that nature.
Yes.
So it's a matter of being ready when the moment is there.
Okay.
Right? To take advantage of the opportunities when they come. Okay. So like I have a bag with my laptop that I carry with me everywhere.
Oh, wow.
So that if the opportunity presents itself, or if the thought strikes, I can take advantage of it. We do a lot of project-based learning. I'm
Okay.
all about project-based learning. And in fact, I've built a year-long curriculum that's coming out next year for middle and high school students based around this project idea.
Okay. Okay.
And so one of the things the boys are doing are they're building a theme park. And that's something they do with guidance,
Okay.
because now that you don't want to spend your whole life teaching your children. It's
Yeah.
not effective. It's not efficient.
Yes.
What you want to raise, you don't want to raise students, you want to raise learners.
Okay.
You want to teach your children that learning is a part of life and is
Okay.
inherent in everything we do. We do
Okay.
a whole lot of math cooking dinner, right?
Yeah.
We do a lot of, one of our favorite games is Name That History, and
I
this is
see
something,
what you did there.
it sounds weird, but this is something that parents can do anywhere. We'll be out and we'll say like 1943, and then we'll take turns trying to figure out what's happening in the world based on other things that we know, based on when we know the wars were or when we know different people lived. We try to paint a picture with each other of what happened in that year, and
Oh,
that's embodying, getting your mind running and getting their mind running.
yeah.
And so it's a matter of using these opportunities, because I can do that while I'm working, and I can do that while I'm washing dishes or while I'm
Yeah.
folding laundry. We
Yeah.
don't always be sitting at a desk.
Yeah. Oh, but you somehow found a way to make history fun. Oh my God. Like the most boring subjects ever. You found a way to make it fun.
We love history. Um, we love math. With my younger son, we're working on times tables and fractions and things. And
Yeah.
the fractions is one of our favorite games. And it's an actual game. It's called Pizza Fractions.
Oh my God.
But it's fantastic,
It's
right?
like pizza, fractions, one game.
Yes, yes. And I just did a product spotlight on it that's coming out, I think, next month or the month after, on my YouTube channel, about this pizza fractions game, right? That it's absolutely wonderful because it's something he can play with independently and also be working on math skills.
Oh. Wait, okay. Now, if you work based on the moment without having set time, then at there days in which you don't really get that many hours, you don't put in that many hours into the work, since there are other things going on. Because I figured if you had like a set timetable, you know that today I'm gonna put in 3 hours of work, I'm gonna put in 4 hours of work. But if you work based on moments, and how is that coming along without you something's falling off on the side?
Well, my regular job, I have to put in a full day's work.
Okay.
I create curriculum for a government agency um, for my regular job, not my business,
Yeah.
and have to be available and be working a full-time job,
Yes.
right? And so during those hours, we're somewhat limited because I have to be here doing that. And so I give them a lot of, that's when they do a few of their things. They do like their handwriting. We're learning cursive, and they do their critical thinking workbooks. And the boys do their YouTube work. They both have YouTube channels, and they're learning computer programming and things like that.
Oh, nice.
They do all of those things during that time.
Okay.
But the key is, when they're free, then they can watch movies, or they can do their other interests.
Okay.
It's the idea that those interests are also educational.
Okay.
You learn so much if you teach them to view their interests as educational. If you say, okay, you love playing Minecraft, that's great. Why don't you build me an Aztec pyramid in Minecraft?
Oh, wow.
Why don't you build me? My younger son loves superheroes. So next year, his entire year is going to be centered around this idea of superheroes.
Oh.
And he's designing his own superhero. And we're learning about, the physics of superhero powers.
Yeah.
And comic books about superheroes, because comic books are very high reading levels. You wouldn't think so because of the art, but they are. And all of that stuff they can do independently
on your own.
while I'm working.
Yes.
That I say the stuff where they really need my one-on-one focus.
Yes.
For the evening hours.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. Okay, so the name. Yeah, I was sort of wondering, like, if you're working in like batches without like any set hours, and I was like, how is that? How are you juggling a full-time job without set hours and your business and your kids? Like, oh wow.
Well, the business is all done in batches. It's all done in moments of inspiration and stolen time. But like I said, you're going to find time for the things that are important. So I do very little social media.
Yeah.
I'm very intentional about how I use my social media because, and this is something I talk about in my public speaking.
Yeah.
Off Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, all of those, 10 minutes a day, and instead apply it to your passion or your purpose or your children or whatever you want to do to become your best expression. At the end of the year, you'll have spent 2 full weeks doing that. For every 10 minutes, you can shave off checking your emails or checking your Facebook.
Yeah. Okay. And so, like I'm trying to get to that point. I'm working towards that. Right now, I just have an app that shuts down after I spend an hour on social media. So maybe later I'll cut out 45 minutes, then 30, then slowly.
Well, running a business, there's a certain amount of social media we have to do.
Yeah, I know.
Especially being like stuck in my house because of the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
You have to utilize social media. The key is to be intentional about it, to spend it doing something useful as opposed to watching kitty videos.
I'm working on that. I do. I have sort of cut out Facebook. Yeah, the app is gone, so I only just need it for work. But then Instagram is still there. I need to cut that out. I'm gonna figure out how to cut that. Like 1 hour maximum, then later 45, then 30.
Well, yeah, and if you relax, that's important too.
Yeah,
it's important to give yourself time. I give myself the last, 10 to 30 minutes of the night.
Yeah.
And I listen to a couple of my YouTube things that I like to listen to. One of my favorites is Geography Now. I listen to my little Geography Now videos. And I spend 10 minutes in quiet reflection and prayer just to ground yourself. Because if you're only sleeping 6 hours a night, you want to make sure that's restful sleep.
Yes.
And if you're stressed or worried or frantic or all of these things, you're not going to get restful sleep.
No, you see, you're working your dreams. Like that. I remember last week I was doing a video editing, and I woke up, I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Absolutely. And there's some nights that I do that. Like last night, I'm right at the point where I'm scheduling out this the reading material and the books for this curriculum, this Country Plus thing, and I didn't hardly sleep at all last night because every time I closed my eyes, I was like, I could have them do this project. I need to get up and write down this project. I could create this worksheet for that.
Yeah.
But when the inspiration strikes, you have to follow it. You can't, that's part of being a creative person.
Yes. Okay, so before we jump straight into how parents can actually make learning fun, like how you have done with the history game and the pizza fraction game, let's talk about how where the name Exploring Expressions came from.
Sure. Exploring Expression really has 2 parts. Okay. First is exploring. And so here at the company, we are always exploring new ways and new opportunities to learn, think, grow, and share. To find interesting things in the world, because the world is a fascinating place, and then to share them with other people.
Okay.
And expression, one of the things we say is, are you your own best expression? How do you become your own best expression? And in fact, that's so much a part of our business that I just finished a guided journal. I just wrote a guided journal on 90 days to your best expression.
Ooh, nice.
And it's all about, in order, your children are going to do what they see you do.
Yes.
Regardless of what you say, they're going to do what you do.
Yes.
And so if you want your children to go on to grow towards their best expression, they need to see you doing that. They need to see that that's something that's important. And so that's one of the things that we really push and we really coach and help people with is, how do I move towards my best expression so that I can make learning fun, easy, and natural for my children?
Yeah.
Because if I find it stressful, they will find it stressful. If you hate math, your kids will hate math.
Oh my God. So you like math and history then?
Well, and I just love learning. I love discovering new things.
So clearly you have mastered the art of making learning fun, because you literally made a history game for like the most boring subjects ever, and like you turned fractions into like, you took pizza and added fractions to it and made it into like a very fun, engaging thing that reminds me of food and makes me hungry. So like these ideas and like taking these like really, really boring subjects and making it very fun and exciting. Like, how did you do that?
Well, I think the biggest key to making something learning interesting and fun is to make it applicable to life.
Okay.
Because if you don't see that it matters, it's not going to be interesting, right? And so, like, for example, with history, it's all about making connections. And so one of the things I work with constantly on my kids is, we learn this thing about history. Well, what does that have to do with our lives? How did that change the world into what we're doing?
Okay.
When you look at math, we do a lot of math through everyday life. I have this big jar of money, and that's what my children learned to count, add, multiply, and divide in, was this big jar of money. Because almost all kids love money, right?
I mean, everybody loves money.
Right. Even if it's only pennies. But it's something that they connect to life, to the life they're living.
Yeah.
And a lot of people find history not boring, but unuseful, because they can't make those connections to, what does that have to do with me? What do the Egyptian temples have to do with me and have to do with my life? I say, well,
just the cats are cute.
Our ancestors came from Egypt, and this happened in Egypt. And wait a minute, they invented this in Egypt, and this is what you use now.
Oh.
Or, and you can find that in every subject. We did this great, it was like last year, the year before, we decided to learn the Greek alphabet in this rap.
Oh.
And we found this rap on YouTube. That was the best thing. And we all learned how to rap the Greek alphabet. And then they performed it. They performed this little stage show for me.
Cute.
Right? And so now my youngest son, Daniel, is interested and wanting to learn to read Greek, because he first experienced it through something that is applicable to what he does.
Well, you're kind of a genius. Yeah, like your mind thinks is really interesting. Whoa.
Oh, well, thank you.
Genius. So, how like for now, a parent, how can a parent start implementing this right now? Like, how can they take this and make playing fun and still make them learn something from it? Because you have
Okay, well,
experience with it, they don't.
the first thing you need to do is watch your children. Your children will tell you what interests them, right? And children learn differently. Some children can love to read and learn by reading. Some children don't. Some children, some children have to be moving. And if your child has to be moving, the way to make learning fun is to move with it, right? I taught a class several times called ASL and kinesthetic memorization.
Okay.
Right? And kinesthetic memorization is using your body to help you, body movements to help you memorize things.
Okay.
And so what we did is, and when I taught the class, I took one of my children's books, because I write children's books as well.
Yeah.
And I translated it into ASL. And I taught them several words and how to retell the story in ASL. And it's getting their body moving. And that's just an example of watch your kids, see how they learn. Because they're going to learn whether you're there or not.
Yeah.
So let's say your kid loves video games, right? And your kid's an avid gamer. They will learn, if you watch them, you can see how do they learn how to do the thing that needs to get them to the next level of the gaming. Do they watch a YouTube video? Do they read a book about it? Do they do it by trial and error? Because the way they're teaching themselves is the way you need to approach teaching them.
Oh, whoa. Wow, wow. So first you watch them and see the interest, see how they learn, and then figure out how to take that subject, take that learning material and structure it around that.
Yes. And so like I said earlier, my youngest son is all about superheroes right now. I mean, he's about it enough that he watched, I don't know if you're familiar with Doctor Strange and the Avengers.
Yeah.
Well, he watched Doctor Strange no less than 50 times.
Oh, wow.
Because he wanted to learn the exact movements that Doctor Strange did for each one of his spells. He wanted to be able to copy the right moves.
Oof.
Right.
Okay.
So, it's a phase that he's in, but because I can see that, I can say, okay, I want to get you books about superheroes to read. If I'm giving you math work problems or math concepts that I want you to learn, how do I make it applicable to superheroes? Well, if I can jump 3 feet high, well, Ant-Man can jump 8 times as high as a regular person. How high is Ant-Man jumping?
Ah.
Right? If you take history, I can go back in history. And one of the things I'm doing for his curriculum next year is we're going to be studying real life superheroes. So it's going to be all about biographies.
Okay. Oh.
Take their interest that they already want to learn about, because they are already learning. We do a lot of cooking together, right? And so we make a ton of things with food coloring. We make superhero cookies. We're going to have a super snack. We're going to, because that's his love. And your children all have something. Very few children just sit and stare at the wall all day.
I don't think anybody does that. Yeah. Ooh.
The key is and that's the foundation of a learning lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's the understanding that I can make that educational. That here's the foundation that they need to know. If you're in elementary school, you need to know how to multiply. You need to learn how to add and subtract and multiply and divide and basic fractions. You can take that and apply it to whatever they're doing. It doesn't have to be, a page after page after page of problems.
Oh, okay. So now you had mentioned that your kids have done some homeschooling and also gone out to other schools. So how does this homeschooling how is the transition, I guess, from homeschooling to like an external school? Like how is the transition?
Well, we've gone back and forth and back and forth. My oldest child, my daughter, went all the way through public. She only did like a year of only homeschool. Because you see, in my household, we are always homeschooling. It doesn't matter if you're in public school, private school, special school, or not. We're going to learn at home anyway, because that's our lifestyle.
Yeah.
Okay. My daughter loved going to school. She loved riding the bus. She loved going to band camp. She loved doing all of that.
Yeah.
She needed public school, and so she went.
Yeah.
My youngest son, for a while, I wasn't able to work from home, right? I had to go into the office every day.
Yes.
And I'm going to be honest here, public school is free, and daycare is not.
True.
And so I sent him, because we do have good schools here. I sent him to school. He did all of the stuff that he needed to do there, and he was doing great. And then while he was at home, I did the exact same thing that I always do. We learn all of the stuff that he's not going to get there, because they have 30 kids, only so many hours a day.
Yeah.
My older son, he did school a little bit, but because of his special needs, there was just too many people. He could not function in a classroom environment. So he's gone, except for a couple of years here and there, he's gone almost his entire school career being homeschooled.
Okay.
And I'm not a homeschool or public school type of person. I'm not saying kids should all be homeschooled and throw away public school. I'm saying listen to your children. Listen to your children. They will show you what they need. But regardless of if they're in public school, private school, church school, or where, set up your house so that you're building a learner. Because you might as well. You have to cook dinner anyway. Yeah. Why not make it you like to watch movies anyway. Why not talk about them critically? Why not think about them? Why not apply them to life?
Yeah. So now I'm wondering, is there a scenario or how do I phrase this? Like if we are connecting everything into learning, is there a point to be to feel like I just want to watch a movie without learning? I just want to watch a movie for the sake of watching a movie. Does that kind of happen?
For me, no.
For them?
And sometimes it's funny because my kids' friends will come over and they'll ask me a question. And one of the things I always told my children is, if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you a real answer. I'm not going to do one of those, why is a chair called a chair because table is already taken type of things. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say, well, let's find out.
Oh, God. Get into a class.
But I look upon learning, it's not something that you do, it's something that you are. It's something that you're doing whether you know it or not. Even if you're just watching a movie to zone out, you're learning something. Whether it's I'm learning about the characters, in which you're learning about communication and human interaction. Or if you're watching cartoons, you're everything that you see is teaching you something. Okay? Mm-hmm. Even if you don't think it is or don't want you to. The key is to recognize that and say, isn't that interesting?
Okay.
Keep your mind open. And personally, my mind is very busy.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell.
And but I try to make things a game as much as possible to them. And we recently got, I think it was just like last Christmas, we got Alexa, an Echo Dot.
Yeah.
And we ask that thing everything.
Gosh, she's probably tired.
And we'll do that, sometimes we'll sit around eating dinner and we'll try to play Stump Alexa. Let's see what we can ask her, if we can ask her something that she doesn't know.
Oh.
It's fun, it's a game, but they're also getting all sorts of interesting facts and people. And we talk to people, and we understand that learning doesn't have to be work. It doesn't have to be work. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be boring. If you think upon it as it's natural, it's like breathing. You never go around and say, I wish I could just not breathe for a while.
You want to die? Oh, okay. So you clearly have a balance between working full time, being a single mom, teaching your kids, running a business, and that's for other parents who sort of want to start having sort of curriculum for their kids and working a full-time job, or maybe working a full-time job and having their own business. What's your advice on what they can do to slowly get to this level that you are at?
Well, the biggest thing I can say is, and I wish I'd have done this when I started my business a couple years ago. If you want a business, take it seriously. If you want a hobby, have a hobby. But if you want a business, treat it like one. Which means you have to be intentional about what you're doing. And some of us, and I'm one of these people, I have 1,000 ideas. And I can get caught up on a squirrel and chase an idea forever.
Yeah.
But it has to be a conscious thought that this is important. This is important, and I have a goal. So one of the things we work on in my 90 Days to a Better Expression guided journal is at the end, the whole third section about exploration is about looking at your life and saying, what are my goals and how do I get there? Okay. And then start someplace. Let's say your kids, you don't feel your kids are learning anything. Well, start with one thing a day. And I have this resource that I have for children called 100 Things I Didn't Know Before, my learning journal. Okay. And the whole point of it is at the end of every day, you sit down and you write down one thing you learned that day, whatever it was. Okay. Even if it's, I learned my neighbor doesn't really have hair under that hat. Great, okay. Write that down. But the key is to start paying attention to how you spend your time. Because if you don't notice, your life is just passing by. If you don't notice how you're spending your time, you can't make those small changes. And I have a workshop that I give to parents and people. It's called Maximizing Your Effectiveness, How to Make the Most of Your Time. Mm-hmm. And it's all about finding those stolen moments in your day when you can, and preparing yourself to take advantage of them, because we all have it. But it has to start with paying attention to how you spend your day and how you spend your time.
Okay. So to pay attention to how you spend your time, do you recommend getting a journal and sort of writing down what you've done today, how you spent the day, and then seeing how long what you've done and how long you spent on it, something of that sort?
That's a great idea. That's a great place to start. You can also, put it in categories. You don't have to longhand out how you spent your day. But you can sit down and you can say, okay, I know I have to work this long. I know I have to sleep this long. This is how many hours I have in a day. One of the things I do, which saves me a ton of time, is I do freezer cooking.
Who cooks?
Freezer cooking. It means I cook every 2 weeks. And I batch it and I put it in the freezer. So that I'm not spending an hour every single day cooking.
Oh.
But to get to that point, I had to look back and say, and you don't have to do it all at once, just this week, say, I'm going to find out how much time I spend meal prepping every day.
Okay.
Or today, I'm going to see how much time do I spend scrolling Facebook every day? Or how much time do I spend, how many times do I go, if let's say you have a 2-story house, I don't, but let's say you did, how many times do I go up and down the stairs every day? Because each one of those, how long does it take me? One of our favorite activities, because we do a lot of commuting, because my son's in competitive dance, so
yes,
is we listen to audiobooks.
Okay.
Because as I was looking at how I spent my time, I realized that I spend a whole lot of time in the car. And so how can I use that time in a better manner?
Do you just feel like, can't I just have like 1 hour to do nothing? Just have that 1 hour to do nothing. Just, I don't want to say waste it, but like no learning, nothing, just relax.
Absolutely, that is so important. But you have to be intentional about it. Like I said, I spend the last 10, 15 minutes of my day every day in stillness.
That's your relaxation.
Yes, just, I pray sometimes, or I meditate, or sometimes I just breathe. I have this app that's just like you breathe with it. Some days, we enjoy going to the beach. Some days it's like, okay, we're going to go to the beach today. But I know that on this day, we're going to spend that day doing whatever. And so leading up to that, I have to be intentional with what I'm doing.
Oh.
I'm not saying never relax. I'm saying don't always relax. Understand that doing nothing is, and even while you're doing nothing, right? Mm-hmm. Think of everything you learn at the beach.
Oh my God. Like everything's a learning experience with you.
Well, that's the basis of my company is the idea. If you understand that everything is a learning experience, then you don't have to work so hard to make it a learning experience.
Okay. So there's this that I saw on social media. So please tell me if it's true or not. It's probably not, but I have to ask some. I'm sure. So there is the post, I think it's on Tumblr or something, that says students who are homeschooled end up being very antisocial. Is that true?
Absolutely not. No, that's not even close to true.
Oh, so well, stereotype, I guess.
Yes, and it's something that when you homeschool, people are going to ask you all the time.
Oh,
what about social? Now there are a few kids that may be
okay,
but that's because their parents are antisocial. It has nothing to do with whether or not they're homeschooled.
Okay.
My children do, like I said, my son does dance. Yeah. We do church activities, Bible school. We do we act in plays. We attended co-op. We go to all of these things where they're around people. Think of the type of people that you're around in a public school classroom, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say 25 other 7-year-olds in the second grade class. Okay, is that a true reflection of the type of group that you will be in as an adult?
Not really.
No, you'll be with people older than you and younger than you and different than you, all of these people. And so what homeschoolers get is they get a truer snapshot of the type of groups that they'll be in. Because, when we go to like a group event or something, or, when he goes to dance, he's in dance with little kids, with 5-year-olds, and he's in dance with 10-year-olds. And socialization is what you make it.
Oh, okay. So now I personally know nothing about autism. So I'm going to ask, what's the difference between educating an autistic child and a non-autistic kid? Is there a lot of difference? I know you had mentioned therapy for your older son. So apart from therapy, is there any other like major difference in terms of like curriculum and all that?
Well, I can only speak to the difference on educating my son,
Okay.
because there's a saying that says, if you've met one autistic child, you've met one autistic child.
Interesting.
Because it is a spectrum. My son's fairly high functioning, but it's not even a line. It's almost like a circle, and you're somewhere in the circle, right?
Okay.
But some of the things that I had to do, one is he has learning difficulties. And so I get all of as much of his books as I can in large print.
Okay.
We do a lot of, he's very kinesthetic. He doesn't work well in social situations. He's one of those that, had to homeschool because public school was too social.
Okay.
And so we work in much, much smaller groups and he's 16 now, but maturity-wise, he's still about 10-ish. Okay. And which means, even as a 16-year-old, he still wants to play, and he still wants to do things that kids of that level do. And so one thing that homeschool affords me is I can teach him where he's at.
Okay.
I can work more on his weaknesses. We do a lot of, he really struggles with what's called executive functioning. I don't know if you're familiar with that term.
What's it?
It's how you think about and how you go about daily life. Like, do you remember to put your clothes on all right side out? Mm-hmm. Or do you come out with your shirt on backwards? Or can you follow directions? One of the things we work a lot on with him is following instructions. Okay. And so we build a ton of Legos because those are detailed instructions. So this is part of my household management thing. I have on the back of every door in my house a checklist that says, when I ask you to do something, this is what that means. Because one of the things he struggles with a lot is, just because I say it and I know what that means doesn't mean he received it the same way.
Oh.
And so we do a lot of work. And in fact, listening and communication is a big deal to me. I have a master's certificate in conflict and dispute resolution, and I'm a Stevens minister, so I do a lot with communication. And so much of the communication cycle depends on the receiver, on the listener. And a lot of times we talk to our kids and we talk to other people, and we just assume they're going to receive it like we threw it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with at least with my son with autism, that doesn't happen.
Okay.
Right? So I have to stop and say, okay, did you receive that in the way I intended? And I do a lot of that with checklists. His day is very structured. And so that when I say, did you go clean your room? He can go and he can pick up either the household management binder that we have, or look on the back of his door where it said, okay, did you make your bed? Does your bed have a sheet on it? Have the blanket on top of the sheet? Is the pillow on it? Did you pick up all your clothes and put them in this spot? And go down that. And it takes for my time, because I'm always thinking about,
Yes.
I don't have to go back and go back and go back and go back.
Yes.
I can tell him, did you follow the list? Once you've checked everything off that list, then come get me and I'll check it.
Okay. Oh, you're a great mom. You're a great mom. Oh my God. Oh, So before we talk more about your book, your website, and how other parents can work with you, are there any other tips or any other misconceptions you want to address?
Um, I think the biggest thing, if I could say one thing to parents, I would say listen to your child. They will listen to your child if you watch them. And that's one of the things I do with my coaching. Like if they call me for coaching, is I say, tell me about your children. Because if I don't know about your children, I can't just, and I have curriculum that you can just hand, right? That they can go through. But what I do in my curriculum that I build, that I sell as pieces, like for each one of my books, I have a curriculum that goes with a little workbook.
Okay.
And I tell them, you don't have to do all of those things, but I've included kinesthetic things and reading things and auditory things and all of these things so that you can choose the activities that match your child.
Yes. You're such a great mom. Like, oh my God, you're such a great mom.
Thank you.
Okay. So, your book, The Journal for 90 Days, it's available on Amazon. How can someone get this book? Get the journal? Well, actually, I can see you brought out several books. So, where can they get these books?
Yes, all of my books, the books themselves, are available on Amazon. 90 Days to a Better Expression comes out in July.
Okay.
And I don't know when this airs, but it comes out.
It'll be out by then.
You can also, it's better to go to my website. You can get all of my books on my website, as well as the workbooks that go with them, and various other things. That's where you can and it's exploringexpression.com.
Okay.
Right now I have 5 children's books, maybe 5. And one of them is also in Spanish, because I want to do this whole English-Spanish workbook.
Okay.
And so I read it in English and Spanish.
Okay.
And you can also, that's where you can find me to sign up for a coaching session.
Okay.
And I do a free 15-minute discovery call just to see if that's something.
Okay.
And I will also be putting courses on there. So I'm getting ready to, 90 Days to Your Better Expression will have a course that goes along with it. So you can get the book, or you can get the course, which includes some videos and and I have a lot of K-12 resources that I'm starting to add in there.
Okay.
Literature unit studies, because I'm all about reading.
Yeah.
In fact, I do a weekly Sunday at 7 talk, which you can find on Facebook or on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And last week, that was my focus, was the importance of book clubs. And the fact that if you want to raise a reader, they need to see you reading.
Yeah.
So all of that, you can, if you go to my website, exploringexpression.com, you can be directed to all of the things that I do.
Okay. So you can find your Facebook page, your YouTube, your books, as well as the coaching, and schedule the discovery call.
Yes. And one of the things, if you're a parent and you really want, so the discovery call will help me decide and help you decide what you need. Okay. So maybe you just need a consultation, and what a consultation gets you is I'll spend 45 minutes, you tell me all about your children, and I'll send you a one sheet. Here's some tips that will help your specific children. Or also, if your kids have really a particular interest, I also do custom curriculum development. And you can say, hey, build me a curriculum for my kid who wants to learn about this. Okay. And I also work with nonprofits and businesses. So I just finished working with this company called Humans Engaging Respectfully and something. I did a curriculum for teenage mothers on how to help them grow into their best expression.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff you can find through my website. I'm available for public speaking. I do several public speaking topics. My maximizing your effectiveness, making most of your time people love. the other of my most popular ones is called Survival Strategies for When Life Isn't Fair.
Oh, wow.
Where I talk about the fact that I've gone through an abusive marriage and homelessness, and I had pregnancy-related heart failure,
Oh, God.
and a disastrous tornado where a tornado brought down a junior high on top of my daughter. And
Oh, Jesus.
it was, I mean, like, it was the worst day of my life. Now, she's fine. She's fine. But if you can imagine, she had just gotten a cell phone, and she's at her high, and my older son's at his elementary, and I have this baby because I just had a baby, and I was just recovering from heart failure. So, and I'm in this closet. This was in Oklahoma. I've moved since then, but I'm in a closet, and she's texting me on the phone, and the news anchor is saying, you know, there's this monster tornado. If you're not underground, you're dead.
Oh my God!
I'm kneeling in a closet with my baby in his carrier, with the carrier flipped upside down.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
my daughter's texting, and she says, you know, the power went out. The principal just came on. Mommy, you know, Mama, I'm scared. And I'm,
Jesus.
it's okay, honey. It's okay. It'll be all right. Just do what they tell you. And all of a sudden, I don't know if you've ever been in a tornado. It's like being in the path of a train, right? So the train goes by, our power goes out, everything. The moment passes, and I'm like, okay, I'm alive. Okay, my baby's alive. And I say, you know, my daughter's name is Samantha. I say, you know, it's over, honey. Everybody's okay. And she doesn't answer. And there's nothing. And I get my baby, and we go and we pick up Joshua, and I say, okay, the only thing I can think of at that moment is I have to get to my baby. And we go and get in the car and start driving to the school, and we get like a couple blocks from my house, and we can't go any farther because it's absolute devastation. It's a war zone. Power lines are down, buildings have collapsed, people are like wandering around with stunned like refugees. And I'm sitting here with a baby and an autistic elementary school child, and I can't drive any further. And so what do? What do you do in that moment?
Yeah.
Right? I get out of my car and I walk, and it takes us hours to crawl. We walk and we climb over power lines, and we crawl through this rubble to reach my daughter's school. And I go down and I get in sight of the junior high, and it's collapsed. There are cars on top of each other. I'm standing there, and it's like, how can people survive this?
Yeah.
And I walk around the corner, and there's my daughter sitting on the grass, and she says, "Mama, what took you so long? What took you so long?" And in that moment, it's that knowledge in your child that knows, I will come for you, whatever I have to do. And yeah, and you can survive that. You can survive, and you can thrive, and you can grow. Whatever happened in your life, whatever you go through, you are here for a purpose, and your children are here for a purpose. And so that's what I talk about with these people, is that, you know, I have this list of 10 things, how to survive and how to thrive when life gets you down. And my very first one is get up and move. Because had I just stood back there and I said, you know, I can't go any further in my car, I might as well go home. You know, my baby would have sat there and sat there and sat there waiting on a mama that never showed up. But she's fine.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm so glad you moved out of that state. Oh my God. Maybe it's a place with like 0 hurricanes and tornadoes, like 0. Just move there.
Well, I moved from Tornado Alley to Hurricane Central.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's hardly any better.
But it's you can get through it, and you can be your best expression, and your children see that. Your children see, even if you don't do well at it, your children see the effort that you make and know that it's worth it.
Yeah, you are such an awesome mom. So, like, oh my God, that was such a miserable story. Even the good lie down and cry. Oh my God. Oh my God, Jesus. Oh God.
You can't find the news articles of that tornado because it actually hit 3 different schools, and there are, I think, 7 kids that died in it.
Oh God.
And it's but for my child wasn't one of those.
Yeah.
But it's you make if it's important, you will do it. The key is what is important in your life. If creating a learning lifestyle is important, you will do it, and Exploring Expression is here to help you do that.
Yeah.
If you want to write a book, or you want to start a business, or you want to grow into your best expression, if it's important, then you can do it, and Exploring Expression is here to help you. That's what we do here.
Oh my God. Oh my God. This has been a very emotional interview. I just want to go lie down and take hot chocolates because Jesus Christ, I feel so down. Oh my God. Wow, like I on one hand, I'm sort of proud of you and your daughter because if you hadn't moved, you should have lost trust in you completely.
No, because it wasn't the first tornado we've been through. I mean, we lived in Oklahoma. We lived in Moore, Oklahoma for years and years and years, for 10, 15 years. And it's funny, our house wasn't hit in that tornado, but it was like the first major tornado that passed that my house hasn't been destroyed in. I've lost everything in tornadoes twice. And
you still stayed there.
I still stayed there until it was time to go. My brother there and his kids, and I had foster kids for a while, and they were there, but the key is you learn to depend on each other because life is about relationships. It's not about houses and cars and stuff. And if going through all those tornadoes has taught me nothing else, it's taught me that life is about relationships. And when it came time to move, and it was a leap of faith to move to Georgia because we didn't know anybody here.
Yeah.
And we came for a job. And when it came time to move, they said, well, settle right here in this little area because it's the sweet spot, and hurricanes almost never hit there. And can I tell you, we've had to evacuate like 3 times since I've been here in the 4 years I've been here for a hurricane. So I don't brought natural disasters with us.
Oh my God.
I have a binder, and I have this workshop that I give about household management, right? And I have a binder that I have. It's called my household management binder. That's a key to the running of my household. And everything I need to know is in there. And so when a disaster happens, when I go into when we have to evacuate, or when I got heart failure, if you can imagine, I got pregnant and I got heart failure, and I had to stay in my bed for months waiting for a baby to be born or for me to die. One of those 2 things would happen first. It was just which one. Would I have the baby or would I die?
Oh God.
Yeah, and my parents lived in another state, and my dad had to come down, and for like 5 months, he lived in my chair and had to run my life because I could not leave my bed. And I was able to hand him this book and say, this is how my household works. Because the last thing you want in a time of trouble is to, especially with an autistic child, is to disrupt what the natural order is, because life's already disrupted enough.
Yeah.
So that's some of the things that we help with at Exploring Expression. We have a thing that we give away, and in fact, if anybody sends me an email and asks me for it, I'd be happy to send them the important person or family member important information document.
Okay.
And what it is, you fill it out for each one of your family members, and you keep it in your household binder so that you can just pick this up. Because, let me ask you this question. Do you know right now what size shoes, what size clothes, what medications every member of your family wears or takes?
No, I don't even live with them.
Because when a tornado happens, right?
Yeah.
And we went through a tornado and it wiped everything out. It's like everything. We moved to the shelter. We go to the shelter, and there's this aid worker, right, behind this table with this mountain of donations. And you go up to her and she says, "Who's in your family and what are their sizes?" And you have this long. You have this long to say, okay, I need these items in this size and these items in this size. If you don't know that, this helps. My life runs smoothly, as smoothly as it does with 3 children,
Yeah.
Because I have systems in place. We work with, I have systems in place to make things easier, which can be made easier.
Oh, okay. It's got to very heavy points. Let's bring the humor back. Let's bring the humor back. It's got into such a dark place. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Piece of fractions. Such a dark place.
Love you. We also love, there's this great game called Revlock.
How does that work?
It's a card game all about syllable types. And you play it like war, right? It's called Revlock. And it's one of the things that, in the coming months, I'll be doing a product review on. And kids love card games. And so we play war with this game called Revlock. And as they turn it over, they have to say, like, that's an R-controlled syllable. Or that's vowel silent E syllable.
Oh.
But it's through the guise of playing this card game. And you can also play crazies within all these different things.
Yeah.
Fantastic. These games are out there. They are out there and they exist. You just have to look for them.
Yeah.
And they're so much fun. The big floor puzzles, right, of the solar system,
yeah,
are fantastic.
Oh my God. Wow. Such a heavy interview towards the end. Jesus. Woo. Anything else you want to add before we end the interview?
No, I think, like I said, you can head over to exploringexpression.com. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, obviously.
Yeah.
And I love to connect with people. So there's places you can send me a message or you can send me an email, exploringexpression@gmail.com. And, I'm here to help people become the best of themselves so they can make learning fun.
Yes. The fun and heavy interview. I feel like crying.
She's okay. She's in college to be an astrophysicist.
Oh my God.
So
does she have a phobia of water or wind or something?
No, she is the most fearless, together person. I mean, so talented, and she's her own woman, and she loves book club together. She's not talk to her minutes because we built that connection, and she's just. I'm so proud of her. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I'm so proud of her as well. Because I would have just stayed here and cried. I just stayed here like, I'm tired. I want to go back in time and just forget this day existed.